the story, but I'm going to share it anyway. And what I know is that the day that Bobby and I met Yule changed our lives forever. So the day that we pulled up at that Chick-fil-A, Bobby was hungry and we were across town on Thornton Road, which is way out of our, area that we shouldn't ever be in. There's just no reason to go over there. But we pulled up, and in hindsight, looking at exactly what happened, but there he was, huddled up, all covered in black. I couldn't see his face, I couldn't see his hands, and he was in black, everything, and he had a hood over his face, or his head, that covered his face, and it was so stinking cold in Atlanta. So I walked over, and I will tell you that when I stood in front of him, and he didn't see me because he was like this, it was so cold, and when I walked up to you, Yule, and and you looked up at me, the first thing I remember are these beautiful eyes. He's got eyes that are so deep and so beautiful. And I said, welcome. And I said, hey, what are you doing? Well, he said, I'm homeless. And I've been homeless for a year. And I remember just thinking, wow. And looking at him, he's just, got a beautiful spirit. You can see it. I saw it that day. And he said, I've been homeless for a year. And I just remember my heart tugging. I said, well, how did that happen? Well, he started showing me pictures of his children. And he had told me that he'd gone through a bitter divorce and that he had lost everything. And he started telling me about where he'd come from.
I've always been involved with martial arts. So, for the last 15, about 20 years, martial arts always played the big thing in my life. So, I was married. I had 2 sons, Yusuf and Yurik. And we went through our divorce, but before that, I was working at JVC Disc in Kennesaw, and I also was training at Taekwondo Advantage in Hiram. So my grandmaster and me, we taught, military people major joint and manipulation and weapon disarmament, trained some Paulding County police officers and stuff like that. And we had a school over there off of Villa Highway. So I was working 2 jobs, and I was making pretty decent money. But
And you were teaching young boys too, right?
yes, I was. Most of my students were, children. So that's what I did, and that's partly the reason why I stopped, because we was a competing school. And it got to the point where the martial arts wasn't, generating any real money for us to sustain school, because it was like an after-school special now. It's like daycare. And we stopped doing competitions because we couldn't take them to competition. We WTF certified. And I studied 4 different arts. Studied Aikido, Wing Chun, Chun Kwan, and Aikido. So.
And then you show me that he's a Hall of Famer in martial arts. So as he began sharing that, I'm looking at him, and of course you hear him talking, and I'm like, homeless for years? And so then he began to tell me that, well, at first I asked him if he was hungry, if he'd like some food, and he said no. And that kind of shocked me that he wouldn't accept food, because I knew if he was homeless, he had to be hungry, right?
Yeah, I was hungry.
But he said, go ahead.
I was hungry, but I guess, I don't know exactly. I think I was trying to figure out, where I went wrong, because I didn't understand what happened. Everything just happened so fast.
Right.
And,
So that day, when he started sharing these things with me, I started asking him, things like, well, why aren't you at a shelter? And the stories he was telling me about the shelters were incredible. And it showed honor on his part. And then he said, I asked him again, can I buy something to eat? I really wanted him to come inside the restaurant, but I didn't feel like he's trusted me enough to do that just yet. And I wasn't sure if I trusted him enough just yet, just to invite him in. But I really wanted him to come inside because I was so cold. And I wanted to keep talking to him, but I didn't want to, bring him inside just yet. And so then I was looking at his pictures, and he was telling all these things, and then he started telling me how he would get up, he would sleep behind the AutoZone, and he would get up early and sweep the parking lot, and they would give him a few dollars to charge his phone, or a few dollars for money, or for food, or whatever. And then he'd go down to the next place, and he would sweep that parking lot. And he had a job, but it was hard having a job being homeless. And then one of the things that he said that really got me was that, I want a job, I want to work, but being homeless, it's cold out here, and it's hard on that AutoZone concrete. And he said, I do not do drugs. I'll pass a drug test all day long, but
And he came in and got to talking to him, and he's intelligent. He's got a good heart. He's wanting to get better. And like Tracy said, we get all of us a paycheck away from bankruptcy and the economy that we were going through, in the last few years. So, thinking of his age and all, he got me. I was like, okay, I want to help him now. Once I talked to him. The other neat thing was we were standing in there in Chick-fil-A, and while we ordered him some food, I didn't want to make it obvious that we were ordering food for him, so I ordered another little thing for me.
oh, that's fine.
I got the dessert. And so while they were standing over there talking, the manager actually came up to me and said, what's he going through, something? I said, yeah, I think he's homeless. He goes, oh, okay. And he walked away, and about 5 minutes later he came back, and he had a handful. I don't know how many he gave you.
Yeah, I remember that. It was about 6.
Yeah, free food vouchers. He said, give this to him. He said, tell him to come in anytime.
So, but I do want you to share real quick just about your job. Tell them a little bit about your job and some of the things that have happened.
Well, you remember the first day that I started working there, it was really cold. And I remember reading the paperwork saying, well, I got to layer up with 3 pair of socks and all these layers of clothes. And they said, well, the warehouse is 38 degrees, but come to find out, my part of the warehouse is like 32 degrees. So I'm in there, I'm like, I can't feel my feet, I can't feel my hands.
Don't be sorry.
So by the time I get outside, I'm like, oh, thank gosh, it's only 40 degrees. But what I do there is, at my other job that I had warehouse, but I was at JBC Disc, I was a lead loader, lead operator, and I handled a lot of equipment, and I taught a lot of people. And pretty much everything that touched my forklift, the pallets were, worth $200,000 off rip, because all the new games that came out for PlayStation, Xbox, that's what I dealt with. That's what I put on trucks, and I had to put tracking devices in and all that stuff like that. But at this warehouse, I'm palletizing. So what my job is, I'm at the end of the line. Every vegetable that you can imagine, I handle. And I gotta look like a doctor. I wear a white spot. Or a hairnet, because everything I touch is organic. I gotta wash my hands like almost 1,000 times a day. Not literally, but that's what it feels like. And I palletize like around, let me say, palletizing. That means just taking everything off the conveyor belt and sitting on the wooden pallet. But I must palletize between 30 and 35 pallets a day. So I handle a lot of orders, and I got to make sure I got 2 packers with me. They pack my boxes or my cases, and I got to make sure when they send it down, it gets the proper label on them. So I have a machine right here that I have to change big rolls of labels and stuff like that.
But tell them about the crew that came in and how they've all gone.
Oh yeah, all of them gone. They didn't stay. Them 2 guys.
All right, guys.
I wanted them to stay, and one of them stayed for about 2 weeks. But You know, it's like I was meant to have this job and keep this job because we were standing there and one of the leads were like, he's coming with me. And I'm like, okay. We go to the back and I haven't left.
They're fighting over him. All the different supervisors are fighting over him because he's a hard worker.
Yeah.
And the most recent news is what?
That I'm being hired on permanent full time. Just found that out not too long ago, but you know, I had to run some things through with somebody that's really important in my life, and that's back in my life now. That happened not too long ago because she came to visit, but then I was like, oh, okay, I see how this goes. Be open-minded and stuff. But then a couple of days ago, she said to me, she was like, I think you need to spend more time with your sons. And I was like, well, yes, they got them. I need to too. So that's when she was like, well, we're coming back from Virginia to stay. And I was like, thank you. You know, and that's what's always been important, you know, my children. That's what I work so hard for. That's what I continue. Because I love my boys.
And they love you.
It's all related somewhere. You know?
So with Bonnie's $100 challenge, what we want to do is we want to present you with your scooter.